Justin Hazelwood is an author, songwriter and performer who's released several albums of musical comedy, been nominated for an ARIA Award, toured extensively under his moniker The Bedroom Philosopher, and published several books. His latest is DREAM BURNIE, described as an art book, time capsule, memoir, and to tell us about it, the renowned 86 tram commuter joins us now. Justin, welcome back to Breakfasters.
Oh, hi, good morning.
It's what an eye-twisting journey you've had. Tell us about Burnie growing up and how it's loomed in your creative life.
Oh, Burnie, it's a coastal town, it's a port town, it's got a large pile of wood ships there, it's got a big beautiful ocean, amazing sunsets. It had a lot of factories in the 80s, sort of turning the sea a little bit of a brownish colour. That was dioxide, and I did surf club in that.
Wow.
So I feel entirely sort of qualified and on some sort of Uma Thurman-esque Kill Bill mission to make peace with my own childhood and the hometown that raised me.
Yeah, and do you think there's anything about Burnie that gives the creatives their juices?
Look, some people like to sort of suggest Burnie's just like any country town, what's the big deal? But I don't know, anyone who's followed Josh Earl or myself, our comedy, we were referencing Burnie regularly, and I just think it's a bit of a genuinely intense place. It was one of the most working class, hardcore, sort of flat stick, bogan kind of towns. And then there was a lot of nerds there as well, like us floating around, I don't know, buying Juice magazine and watching Recovery and sort of dreaming of what the wider world consisted of.
Escaping Burnie.
I think there was an incredible tension there, and I don't know, I just think interviewing some of the people who are in this book who are artists from Burnie, I just liked to hear about it through a different lens, because on the internet often it's just getting bagged out as being, a bit of a crap town of Australia. And everyone's done 100 jokes about it, mostly me. But I was thinking it was nice to talk to, say, a visual artist like Barbie Carr, who lives in Melbourne and does amazing portraits. She said it was a sort of place you could dream because there weren't a lot of people around, and you had this giant ocean as a backdrop, and we were sort of all underparented in the 70s and 80s, and you were just left to your own devices a lot. And I just love... I don't know, the book's called Dream Burnie, and the word dream actually came up organically a lot in the interviews, and I thought that's kind of a cool new spin to put on a place that does. It gets bagged out even in Tasmania by Hobartians and stuff. So, like, what if, when you're watching these music biopics about Kurt Cobain or Iggy Pop or whatever, often they've grown up in fairly hardcore industrial, crummy little towns, and you hear them saying, I was just this... weedy kid in the corner playing my guitar at parties, and like we were no different. We were just sort of a low budget, Tasmanian version of that.
Did you speak to any of the artists and their perspective on Burnie really surprise you, or really at odds with yours?
Yeah, even speaking to sort of an elder statesman like this sculpture maker Wayne Hudson, who actually grew up in Montello, my suburb, and he did Burnie Surf Club. He was just talking about Burnie in the 60s. It actually had more of an art scene than it does sort of now. It was like, he reckons he went to mime school, and there was a London mime teacher, and there was a poetry club, and there was like folk clubs, and just felt like there was even in the 80s, there was a bit of a scene. Scott Rankin, who started Big Heart, which is a really big arts organisation down there, they were in the Big Ears Club, was sort of Burnie's version of, I don't know, the big gig on ABC maybe. And so I was getting the sense that there were these actual scenes, and there were these other, artists that have come before me. And sometimes, I think of Josh Earl and my generation as being like, we were the first, interesting people who came along and did stuff in Burnie, but like that's a bit naive, because it's nice just to hear the brief history of what came before us, but it's not very documented. You see, you actually have to go and find these people and go to their houses, because it's not really it's not in any other books. Maybe it's in an Advocate newspaper article hidden on the internet.
If you spoke to your younger self and said down the line you're going to be a published advocate of Burnie, would you have said, oh yeah, that tracks?
I probably would have said, "Who are you, mysterious time traveller?" and when will Carlton win the premiership? And maybe laid a little bit of money down on a house deposit. But yeah, no, I'm in the book. I've actually quoted like in kindergarten we had this little pre-filled out form saying, "Hello, my name is Justin, and my teacher was Mr. Henley, and I like doing," and then you had to insert that bit, and I've put writing as a 5-year-old, so it's nice to know there's a little bit of a through line with what I enjoyed doing.
You talked to Peter Garrett because they got the song Burnie.
Yeah.
I was just reading the quote from him. You're like, it says, "What does the town mean to you now?" And he said, "I like that it's part of our career."
That's good, isn't it?
Nice.
People go, "Oh, how'd you get onto Peter Garrett?"
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's easier to get onto Peter Garrett than it was some of the Burnie Council people try and book the book launch in Burnie. No, of course I'm kidding. People are sort of amazed that, Midnight Oil has a song called Burnie, and even as someone from Burnie, it wasn't even terribly on my radar until maybe a few years ago. And you speak to people, and it's not that common knowledge. It was their 1981 album, Place Without a Postcard, and I did some academic research by reading some comments on the YouTube of the video of Burnie, and people were saying, "Oh, it's not great when a song about your hometown is one of the bleakest Midnight Oil songs." But Peter Garrett was pretty good. Did an email interview and just cleared up a few misconceptions, and it was tied in with Craig Leeson, who's a documentary maker from Burnie, who did a Plastic Ocean documentary, which is exactly what it sounds like, and he had maybe single-use plastic bags banned for a while in 2018 from that doco, and he sort of analysed the water in Burnie in 1988 and found dioxins in there from the pulp mill effluent, which is one of the most carcinogenic chemicals known to man. And he wrote an article for The Advocate, which kind of went viral at the time, and all the nation's media descended on Burnie only 6 months after the Queen had declared it a city. And The Australian ran a front cover saying, "Is this Australia's dirtiest town?" with a photo of Burnie and these plumes of smoke. So you got to feel sorry for the place. It only had this short honeymoon of this really positive time in the town's history of being declared a city.
Yep.
And then it was just getting the finger pointed at it. So
Yeah.
Midnight Oil sort of, I think that's the Burnie, they flew in and saw that vibe going on, and that's what led to them writing the song Burnie.
How's your relationship with nostalgia? Do you think you have a unique relationship with it? Some of the pictures almost are heartbreaking. There's something about looking into the past that's really moving and sad.
It's pretty hard to get sad about a photo of the Burnie Christmas Parade 1981
Yes, but
with Von Bibra's Nissan Bluebird mascot glaring at you like an off-brand Sesame Street character.
That's right. The sadness is just inherent in the nostalgia, I think, rather than the actual...
For anyone who's been following my career in the last 10 years, I've been doubling down on nostalgia in a pretty palpable way, and I came up with a line the other day. To me, pop culture is like a member of the family. It's like, "Hey pop," because if you grow up as an only kid in the house with a mentally ill parent who's disappearing on you several months at a time, you lock on to what's going on the TV and ads and what songs are playing on the radio. I think you lock onto them extra hard, and I just taken it upon myself to be a bit of a historian, not of the 1850s, but the 1990s. And there's plenty going on in this book. And my mum actually kept all these old newspapers, and it's sort of a collaboration with her at this point, because there's this ad for the Chicken, which was our local, every town had its chicken shop, and the chicken was represented in a different way. We had a sort of Commander Space Chicken. And he's congratulating Burnie on becoming a city. And it's just there's only one Advocate that could ever be in, because it was when the Queen came, and that's in the book. And so the designer and I sort of decided to not make the ads look old, cut and paste. We wanted them to look crisp and new, as if the Chicken was sponsoring them today. So all these sort of businesses that aren't around anymore, Johnny Farnham at the Taz Tavern ad and Praties. It's not just me. Like you go on the Facebook pages like Burnie Then and Now, and it's just someone puts a photo up from the 1980s, and then there's 100 comments under it, and you can just tell there is a lot of passion in the game.
Absolutely.
So I'm just adding to that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm wondering, the artists that you speak to, is there a through line of, a kind of funny clarity that comes from artists that grew up in working class towns?
No, not always. Like Oslo Davis, he's actually from Wynyard, and which is 20 minutes from Burnie, and we're kind of claiming him in the book, Neil Finn style. He was still a little, and a couple of other people were a bit like sort of, you're asking them how they feel about Burnie now and what it means to them, and it's a slightly traumatic time for some. There was a lot of heavy themes going on. Bit of intergenerational trauma, and suicide statistics were terrible in the 80s and 90s in Burnie, but people would wander around and actually quote them and say, "Did you know this has like the highest suicide rate in all of Australia?" So it was a heavy trip, and you've got this polluted ocean, and it's stinging your eyes when you go to swim in it. So it was good to chat to Oslo. Really, I don't know, it was quite frank and hard hitting, but he's not necessarily that sentimental or flattering about the place at times. So I was trying to present some different sides. Whereas other people, like say Wayne Hudson, was just saying Burnie's a great place, it's got a north-facing bay, we're really lucky to have what we have. I don't know, it's just a place you can dream, apparently.
Yeah, it's how peculiar and interesting that dream kept appearing.
I mean, people like Bogans might say, "What are you looking at?" But they can't say, "What are you thinking about?"
Yeah.
They can't get into your head. They can make fun of your clothes or the way you walk, but they don't know what's going on in your dreams.
Yeah.
And that's something we all held incredibly closely, and a lot of us went on to become professional artists. And
is there somewhere where we can celebrate Dream Burnie?
You should and could, and we're launching it in Melbourne this Saturday, actually, at the Church of All Nations. I tend to do book launches in churches these days. They're good. They're the new folk cafe.
Nice.
Yeah. You can come to and then get a cheap flight over to Burnie, and we're going to rock the Burnie Park sound shell.
You should get the keys to the city after this.
I know.
Yeah, they've been cut. Jackie Lambie's got a set.
Okay, Dream Burnie is the new book. It's available from dreamburnie.com and selected bookstores. As Justin Hazelwood says, there is a book launch at the Church of All Nations, Saturday, 22nd February at 2 p.m. Justin Hazelwood, author of and creator behind Dream Burnie, thanks so much for being back on Triple R.
Thanks, guys.